You're listening to the Reds Podcast.
This is episode number 79. If you want to get better connected in your industry or in a totally new industry, this is the episode for you. We're going to tell you how to do it, whether it's online, at live events, or elsewhere. That's coming up on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
A couple weeks ago, you and I were at a co-working space, and one of the tenants at the co-working space had kind of a display, I guess we'll call it, that looked pretty interesting. We checked it out, and you set up a meeting with her because it's sort of related to your new business, Love Your Face.
It was a pretty cool business that this girl was doing. It's called Beardition, and it's beard products for men. So not the same as the skincare products that I'm creating for women, but similar for men, I'd say.
You put it on your face.
Put it on your beard. So if you have a beard, Beardition is the product you need to go for.
Absolutely. Keeps it soft, smelling good.
No, which you don't have a beard, David.
Looking
It makes
good.
me wish you did. I'd buy you these products. I totally would. They're awesome. They're all natural.
Well, and that's why you connected with her, because it's something very similar, not only in the fact that she's using an all-natural product for somebody's face, but there are manufacturing issues, there are distribution issues, and just the overall salesmanship that comes into play when you've got a product that you want to sell and get out to people.
Also, it's a lot easier to meet with somebody in a similar field that you're in, but where you don't have direct competition. Her target market is obviously men with beards. My target market for Love Your Face is going to be women in their 20s and 30s. So that market does not overlap. So I felt like we were able to have a really good, honest conversation about what it takes to get these businesses off the ground. And that was kind of neat.
Yeah, definitely. But again, the parallels, everything from the packaging that you put something in, the bottles that you use, how you ship things without things breaking, the distributors. There's so many parallels. And that got us thinking, how do you connect with people? This is the Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. We help you build an audience, sell more products, and make more money. We do that through what we call personality marketing. It's bringing your personality and the personality of your products to the forefront so you can become famous within your niche. When I saw this display for Beardition, it was so well done. I thought it was what they called beard oil, but it's more than that. It's beard products. It's like hair care, but for your face.
That's exactly what it is. She has 5 products for your beard, ranging from beard shampoo to beard oil. I don't know all the products, but they all look good.
And when you looked at the display, you could tell that this thing had personality. And that's one of the reasons you wanted to connect with her, not only because she had a similar product, but for men, but because you could tell that she was somebody who understood what it took as far as selling the personality of a brand.
She definitely brought the personality to the brand, and she is one half of the owners of this company, and she was the more creative side. And that's another reason it was really interesting to talk to her, because she writes all the copy and does all the graphic design. And one of the reasons I did want to meet with her is that skincare is a completely new industry for me. I've been in business. I've been doing business coaching for a while. I've done other things, but skincare is not something I know anyone in that field. And I think it's good to start connecting with people who are doing similar things so you can get a perspective on what you're doing.
And that's what this episode is about. You want to meet people either in your industry or in an industry that you are not in. This episode will give you ideas on exactly how to do that. The first thing I would suggest for somebody who wants to meet people in a new industry is to be open. And I think you have to be open in a couple of ways. One, you have to be open in the fact that you reached out to this woman, said, hey, I've got a similar product. Would you like to meet? But she also had to be open to you.
True. And I reached out in a way that said that I'd paid attention to what she was doing, that I was looking at her products, liked what she was doing, and connected that way before I said what I wanted to do. We're going to talk about some of those tips of how to reach out in a minute here.
So many people think of networking and connections like this as sleazy. They've had bad experiences. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago about like the multi-level marketing guys.
Mm-hmm.
On episode number 78, we were all over that. And that was exactly what not to do. And those guys don't network in the best way. And that's given it a really bad reputation, I think. But you were going to her, providing value. We'll talk more about that later on in the episode as the conversation progresses. You were going to her with an open mind, and because she had an open mind, you could come together, and that's when things really opened up.
True, but for the other person to be open to your invitation to meet up, you do have to approach them in the correct way. So I'm excited to get into those tips today.
Well, you have to approach them because people aren't just going to approach you. Now, granted, you did to her, but that rarely happens. You can't just expect to kind of exist in your industry and have people come to you and say, hey, I want to meet you. Hey, I want to meet you. Usually it's you that has to do the initiating.
And you can't just go on Twitter and follow them and expect that they're going to pay attention to you or anything like that. You do have to reach out. You have to be proactive about it.
You can't be afraid of this. If you're at a live event, for example, you and I are doing something over this weekend, which is a live conference type event. What I found at those type of events is everybody's there wanting to meet somebody, but a lot of people are going to sit around texting. They're going to be just kind of distracted in other ways, and they're not going to approach you. And I think they text a lot because they're nervous. You have to be the one who's going to walk up to them. But with that said, if you're sitting there texting, a lot of people won't come up to you. You've got to sit there and just kind of be uncomfortable. That will bring people in. Even better, though, you actually initiate.
How many people have you heard of that go to networking events and complain that nobody wanted to talk to them?
Yeah, a lot.
Like, even if it's a networking event for business or dating or whatever it is, oh, nobody wanted to come talk to me at a party maybe. And that's the thing is everybody is uncomfortable most of the time.
Yeah.
I know I am most of the time, but you have to be that person that connects people, that goes up to people, that introduces yourself. That's why you're there.
Right.
And if you're that person, you're going to take control of the room instead of sitting back and complaining that nobody wanted to talk to you.
And I think this is really tough if you're in a new industry, if you're transitioning. I know for me, being in the music industry for so many years, I used to own a huge conference. So I could go to any music conference and people would know who I was. People would approach me, and I didn't have to work that hard. But if I were to go in, let's talk about maybe a podcasting conference or any kind of new media conference, nobody knows who I am. I had to really work for it. I think that we have a tendency to get comfortable if we've been in one business for a certain amount of time, and you forget how tough it can be. But don't let that be an excuse for you not to do this.
I think if I walked into a skincare conference right now, that nobody would know who I am. So
the point is that it's very easy when you walk into something where everybody feels like they know each other because they've been there for 2 or 3 years in a row or they've been a lifetime in the industry. Very easy to get uncomfortable. But I've found anytime I'll walk up to people, they're there for the same reasons that you are, and they want to connect with people. And if you've got value, if you've got something to add to the conversation, they will welcome you.
also, I'd say don't be afraid to approach the quote unquote gurus. They're just people too. Everyone puts them on a pedestal, doesn't want to approach them. But if they're not talking to anybody, go up to them, introduce yourself. That's a very acceptable thing to do.
A lot of times, those guys are really uncomfortable with nobody being around them because they're so used to that. They're speaking on panels. They're used to the big table rush at the end. So, yeah, that's a great opportunity. And they'll thank you for that. Like, whew, thank God somebody's here to talk to me, man. I was getting uncomfortable. Like I said, though, because they're not used to having to approach people.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth saying, though, Laurel, that even if somebody isn't a guru, to me, that's where the real magic happens at any kind of networking event or just reaching out to people online. It's not necessarily the guru people that make money by telling you how to do something. The people that you really want to get with are the ones that are actually doing it. Those are the guys in the trenches, and those are the guys who are not selling out their secrets for money. They're actually doing them, actually making money with them, so they would never sell out those secrets, but they might tell you them.
And it's probably better to have connections with those people that are kind of in the real world and on your same page And those are the people that I get a ton of information and value from and can add value to as well. So that's always helpful.
While I think you need to pick and choose who you want to connect with, find the people ahead of time at these events, or pick the people out online that you want to get connected with, go for quality, not quantity. It's also worth mentioning that it is a numbers game, that you don't need to connect with everybody, but you are going to get some rejection. You are going to have some weird experiences, and you do need to reach out to more than 2 or 3 people and then call it a day and claim you had a bad experience and you didn't meet anybody. Have
you ever been totally rejected when you approach somebody, David?
Yeah, I've had very uncomfortable experiences. Yeah, certainly. And people just walk off. And I think what it is, though, I don't think it's anything personal. I think it's just the fact that people are so used to being on computers and in front of screens, and they're not necessarily socially advanced, maybe is the word. We talked about it here on the podcast before. We were at a meeting with a famous guru. Let's say it was a book signing. He was there speaking about his book, and we met some people afterwards, and it was just really, really weird. You would have thought this one guy that we talked to hadn't talked to anybody for years. He just seemed like shell-shocked and really, really nervous.
Came straight out of the cave.
So many people are working alone these days. They don't interact with people. They do it all through the screen. So yeah, when they get in front of people, it gets a little bit weird. And it is weird. It makes all of us uncomfortable. Even an extrovert like your partner in Love Your Face. She loves people. I'm sure she feels weird at these things too.
I think we all do. That's what I tell myself, is everyone else feels uncomfortable, so let's just roll with it here.
Here's the best way to get connected with people. When you actually meet them, you need to be able to add value. So before you either reach out to somebody online or meet somebody at a networking event, conference, that kind of thing, you need to ask yourself, and you need to get clear with what you bring to the table. And very specifically, you need to know the type of help that you can provide people.
For instance, when I was meeting with this woman today who runs the Beardition business, that was something that I came in with, is how can I offer this woman value? When you look at it, she's been in this business for a couple years, and I am just launching my business. So it'd be easy for me to think, well, what can I really offer? I haven't been in this business. It's completely new to me. At the same time, I step back and I'm thinking, well, I have marketing experience, I have connections, I have this, I have that. And so coming in knowing that I have things to offer her if she needs anything, or if she asks, or if we want to further our connection. So I thought about those things in advance before I sat down with her. What can I bring that's positive to this meeting? And it turned out really well. And at the end, we were thinking of ways we could help each other. And I thought that was a really positive start to a relationship.
Your new company, it's called Love Your Face. It's funding on Kickstarter right now. So go to lyface.com/Kickstarter if you want more information about that. Even at that very beginning level of business, though, Laurel, you've got a ton of value on what you've learned with launching, what you've learned with crowdfunding, what you've learned with getting things rolling. And that can help even a seasoned business because you're right there in the trenches, perhaps even more than she is right now.
Mm-hmm. And it was funny. She said at the end of our meeting, she said, well, I looked through your whole Kickstarter campaign page, and I was showing it to somebody else here. And she was saying, I was telling my friend that this girl seems to have it so together. Everything is laid out. I have no idea how I'm going to be able to help her. And that was just funny to me that, I was thinking, okay, how can I help her? I don't know how I can help her. And she's thinking in advance, okay, I don't know how I'm going to be able to help her, but you got to think outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, everybody brings different things to the table. And if you want to see that video, again, it's lyface.com/Kickstarter. It's really, really good. The copy is really, really good. If you donate just $1, you can actually see what Laurel's doing throughout this 30-day campaign, learn from her and what she's doing, and add that to your own crowdfunding or even a mailing list campaign. Anytime you're trying to build an audience for something, what Laurel is doing on Kickstarter will absolutely help you. When adding value, I think you need to focus on strengths, Laurel. Don't try to be everything to everyone. And I see people, especially newbies at events, and they're just trying so hard to get connected to these guru people or popular bloggers or popular podcasters, and they're willing to jump in and do anything. I knew a guy, never written a book in his life, and all of a sudden he's editing a book for this guy. And people take advantage of that. He just wanted to be in the room with this guy and working with him. Was the book any good? Probably not. I don't think it actually ever came out. But he was willing to do whatever, and it was just stressing him out to death because it was way beyond his skill set.
Again, that was something that I thought about before this meeting is what are my strengths? What can I bring to the table? How can I offer value? You can't just offer something that you're not good at or that you couldn't help someone on. So you might have to think outside the box for this one.
And it's worth saying that, like you found out, Laurel, even if you're at the very beginning of your journey, you have something to offer. I got connected with some real money men a few years ago. And these were like the higher up guys for Microsoft. And they were the guys that were funding everything. They were the big marketing production managers. And I was really, really intimidated. But what I ended up finding out was because I was on the front line and they were used to working in these big corporations, that they were the ones who came to me. They had more to learn from me than I actually had to learn from them at that time. So sometimes the situation will surprise you.
You need to have standards when you're connecting with people in your new industry.
You don't just show up anywhere. Don't be the guy who goes on meetup.com and gets stuck with a bunch of people selling multi-level marketing vitamin jelly beans and whatever people are into these days. You need to have standards as far as the quality of people, the type of people that you want to work with, and what's being discussed.
You don't want to be the guy with 5,000 Facebook friends, none of who you even know who they are, or where they came from, or why you're even their friend. If you have 100 or 1,000 good ones, that's going to be a lot better. You want to have higher standards when you are connecting with people and when you're trying to create lasting relationships with them.
Yeah, it's definitely quality, not quantity. I think Facebook, that's a great example. We've all seen that guy who's got 5,000 friends on his Facebook account, but he doesn't know any of them. I would much rather be that guy who's got 1,000 good people. Same with your mailing list. There's guys who are like, yeah, I got 80,000 people on my mailing list. Yeah, great. But if I've got 1,000 people that are really rock solid customers and are buying everything, that's the list that you want. And same way with any kind of connection that you have, your time is your most valuable asset. And there are a lot of people out there that will waste it without really meaning to, just because they don't know any better.
David, how do you determine who you're going to connect with or what conference or what networking event you're going to go to? Because we're talking about having standards, but how do you set those standards?
Well, as far as individuals that I reach out to or individuals that I respond to, I want to see they're consistent with good quality stuff. I want to see that they know what they're talking about. I want to see that they've been around for a little while. I don't just go for anybody. I see a lot of guys that are into the podcast thing. Since we're on a podcast, this is what we're talking about. And they'll brag, oh, I'm doing 5, 10 interviews a week. It's like, yeah, but it's all these blog talk radio shows that nobody's listening to. You're like the third guest on a 4-hour show. Mm-hmm. Nobody's there by that point. So you really want to focus on quality like that. Find out the people that you're dealing with are delivering great content, that they've been around a while, and they'll continue to be around for a while. Sometimes, speaking of podcast interviews, I've got these new podcasters contact me, and they say, hey, Dave, I want to do an interview with you. But I've done interviews on brand new podcasts before and have found out that the podcast either never gets released or does what we call pod fading. So by the time my show gets out there, the podcast is done. Mm-hmm. It never, ever gets released. As far as events go, there are a lot of events in town that are more of a social thing. A lot of them are done at bars. It's more of a kickback after work kind of thing. People just want to socialize and hang out. And that's not really my scene. If I've got a limited amount of time, as I mentioned, it's our most valuable commodity. I want to get in where I can really connect with people, really talk business, really progress that relationship forward rather than hanging out. And you can progress a relationship forward by hanging out. That's certainly what we do with our friends, right? Those are the deepest relationships that we have. But I've found that the guys that are really doing something, they're more like me in that they have limited time and they want to cut to the chase and they want to get business done, not just hang around and watch a game and do something that's kind of a substitute for actual networking. It might make some people feel like they're actually doing work, but it's not really work at all.
Note, you will not find David in a bar if you're looking for David Hooper.
No.
Don't check the local bars.
I don't like to have meetings that are done in any kind of bar atmosphere, any kind of restaurant, actually. I like them done in hotels or conference rooms or offices where we can get business done. And that's just because I've been to so many of these things that end up just being social affairs. And that's great, but if I'm going to be social, Laurel, I'm going to be hanging out with you.
Thanks, David.
Or I'll be doing something that I really enjoy doing, not business stuff. My business stuff is business, and my personal and social stuff is personal. But to answer your question about how I choose which conferences to go to, a lot of it has to do with sponsorships. It's who's involved, who's showing up, how many people are there, who the speakers are. I think that's a good way to do it if you've never been to a conference before. You can ask for reviews, find out how the conference is going to be.
When you are connecting with people, one thing that will make you memorable in their mind is if you connect other people together, or connect that person with somebody else. In this meeting I went to today, the woman I met with connected me with two other people that were in that same co-working space. Both had really cool things going on. Both checked out the Kickstarter project I was doing. And that makes for a really good connection, is if you're connecting your people with other people and vice versa. You want to be that connector. It makes you memorable, and it kind of sets you apart from a lot of the other people out there that just are all in it for them.
I've got a friend of mine. His name is Trent. Laurel knows him because I introduced those two. You know how I met him? I met him through another friend. And every time we hang out with him, and we saw him yesterday, actually, I'm thinking about the friend that introduced us. She gets the credit for it. That's a great way to be on somebody's mind without even being there. The relationship is like marketing it for you.
That's why every time I talk to you, David, I think of Match.com. It's the connector.
Every time I talk to you, I think about our friend Tisha Morris.
Yes.
Because this would not have happened without her.
Email. I'd like to thank Gmail for connecting the whole world. But I digress. Let's get back to it.
When you're meeting somebody, you need to ask questions, do more listening than talking. People love to talk about themselves. That's what makes you interesting to them, even if you're not saying anything. And we talked about my friend. He was a big player, but he never said anything. Turned out when he actually did, he wasn't as cool as all the women thought he was.
So he just played the field by saying nothing?
He just played the field by listening, and these women filled in the blanks.
Was he just like, tell me how you feel about that? How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Women would be all over that.
Women
I
love
would.
that. Let's go watch a chick flick and just feel each other. Let's just be with each other.
That's so sexist, David.
Yeah, well, that's how he was, and it worked for him. But when he started opening his mouth, they found out the truth. But there really is something to that, all joking aside, that if you let people talk about themselves, if you listen, that they're going to fill in the blanks and think that you're more interesting maybe than you really are. But with that said, listening to people opens you up to find out things that you would not normally think about. I'm going to go back to Love Your Face, lyface.com/Kickstarter to watch the video. And Laurel is interviewing these little kids at the very beginning of this video. You ask them questions, and then we shut up and we listened. And we couldn't have fed the kids better lines than the ones they gave us.
They were so cute, but you do have to ask something, and then you have to shut up and listen.
There's a line, and you'll see it if you go there, lyface.com/Kickstarter, and that actually changed the whole trajectory of this video. We said, oh, that's our hook. That's our hook. We're going to go there. So it's a great one, lyface.com/Kickstarter if you want to find out about that. If you've got questions, if you've got comments about what we've been talking about today, about networking, getting connected with people, Laurel and I are happy to talk to you. You can get to us via our website at redpodcast.com. There you will also find other Red Podcast episodes. You'll be able to make suggestions on what we cover in the future and find out about things we've talked about already. We'd appreciate it if you'd help us to build the Red Podcast community. You can do that by letting a friend know about Red Podcast. Also by going to iTunes, search for Real Entrepreneur Development. Leave us a review. When you do that, we help more people and we build the real entrepreneur development community. I want to take it back and end with Love Your Face, Laurel's new project. It's at Kickstarter, lyface.com/Kickstarter. Go there, donate $1, and you'll find out what she's doing to build an audience, to grow this company from scratch. These are things that you can use in your own crowdfunding campaign. And even if you're not doing crowdfunding, trying to grow a business or launch a business, and that way you can use it to build a mailing list. We've got a special offer for all Red Podcast listeners that want to get in a little more than that $1. You donate $100 or more, not only are you going to get some great skincare options, we also have some very personalized training that will help you to build your own Kickstarter campaign. We will be going deep, 30 days to a head-turning Kickstarter campaign that's going to get you more customers, more attention, more respect, and more money for your business. Thanks for listening to the Red Podcast. We appreciate you. We'll see you on the next episode of the Red Podcast.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.